So one of the things that I've been working towards through this show is just slowing things down, because in radio there's not supposed to be any silence.
Yeah.
But without taking that moment, I'm constantly having to think of what I'm going to ask you next
Right.
as you're speaking. So it's finding that balance between really being present. And I think it's okay to take a moment, even if that means a bit of silence. What do you think?
Absolutely. I say this sometimes in my talks. I let people know it's kind of sounds like a contradiction. Okay, I've worked with words for many years. I started writing right around the year 1998 or so, and I've done a lot of little magazine articles and short stories. So I write fiction and poetry, and 3 nonfiction books now, and 1 unpublished novel. It won't stay unpublished forever, though. So look out, world. So I do. I'm a writer. Besides being a meditation teacher and a spiritual teacher. So, and I also do talks and I do shows like this. So I use words a lot. But recently I've started telling people, my audiences, it's not the words that matter. I used to be really caught up in words and wanting to get my words just right and how to say things just right and explain this and that just right. And then at some point I realized that words are just symbols. In fact, if you believe teachings such as A Course in Miracles, they are symbols of symbols, meaning the world itself is a symbol. Everything in the world is a symbol. And our words then symbolize those symbols. So they are thus, as the Course says, twice removed from reality. So they are not the truth. So everything I'm saying here is not true. that's the cold, hard truth of it. It's not true. But all I can do is point to truths and reflect the truth in a way that helps to redirect people to that which is true. Their presence, their self, their experience of life, even in the illusion of the world, we have that with us, and we can experience that directly. So what I say now to a lot of my audiences is, if I appear to stop, and if I appear to be just standing here looking foolish, listen to the silence between the words that I am speaking. That is what all of my words are designed to direct you towards. So get comfortable with those spaces. Take them in. Breathe. That is where self-realization is discovered.
Oh, that's so good. um, why do you think it is that people are so uncomfortable with just like a 2-second pause?
Because the ego dissolves in those moments. It happens rapidly. It happens instantaneously. And while it feels so good, if you aren't comfortable with allowing your ego to dissolve, and if you still feel guilty and afraid of what you are, you will resist those moments. And so you'll feel the need to talk as fast as you can and get everything right and fill every space up. And you'll have no moments to appreciate that. So we need to begin doing the opposite. And that's really why I teach meditation. That's the intentional approach of creating those spaces. But we can create them at any time, and you certainly can do so in your shows. But I admit it is a little bit more challenging because, as you said, on radio, silence is dead air, and it's a quote unquote no, and people will tune in and they'll say, "What's all this silence? This radio station's broken." Yeah. And then they'll move on. So it's a conundrum, but you can just do your best with it.
Mm-hmm. Well, I find yesterday I had an interview. My boyfriend and I did an interview just like this one on Google Hangouts on Air with a psychologist who we just adore and has been on many times. And I was so focused on bringing it back to the book and reeling them in from talking about comedy and board games and stuff that I missed opportunities for what would have been such a deep and profound and helpful conversation for
Mm-hmm.
listeners and viewers. And so as I was looking back, I was judging myself because I missed these opportunities. I wasn't really listening to what he had to say. I was just worried about keeping the time and all of that. And
Yeah.
yeah,
You're juggling, and it's a challenge, and you have to pay attention to time on your side of things, and you have to provide some structure to your interviews, certainly. But the most important thing you certainly can do is just to be present yourself, regardless of what's going on, and just let it go. Let it go. I know Oprah Winfrey said something that was interesting, and I forget where I heard this, but it was fascinating. Oh, I think it was in a interview she did with Eckhart Tolle. But she had said that for most of her early career, and she was in news, like a local news, I believe it was at first. She was trying so hard just to fit into that newscaster role. And it wasn't until she made a mistake, and I don't remember what the mistake was, but she made some mistake, and then she laughed at herself on air, and she said that that was the moment for her that changed everything, because that was the first moment on air where she was really herself. And that is, I think, that the highest thing we can aspire to do, regardless of what we're doing, is just to be ourselves, just to be relaxed and be who we are, and be okay with making mistakes, and be okay with things not being perfect. And once we relax and find that groove, everything flows naturally for us.